dads.
The Parliament of Papas.
The Parliament of Papas. Exactly.
I have to say it because Charles isn't here to do it.
All right. This comes to us from Tyler, aka the full run through. He posted this in our Discord and wanted us to weigh in on the show. It says, "What do I do if my wife almost forces me to be the bad cop as soon as I get home from work?" And then he provides some context. The kiddo is out of school, so she's had him all day. According to her, he has fought her on every request of the day: meals, cleaning, brushing teeth, everything. Once I get home, she is in the locked bathroom crying. And when I come in, she says, I need to do something about it. I haven't been home all day to witness the issues. I'm not saying I don't believe her. I just don't know the context. But I don't want to just out of the blue come into the kid's room and start yelling and making demands and accusing him of things that he isn't going to understand why he's in trouble. We've even been told by professionals to not reprimand him for things in the past, but to do it in the moment, which I don't know if she did, but she was so overwhelmed, she didn't seem like she was able to. And then to add a little bit more context, because we've talked about it on the show before, he is also on the spectrum, which is probably also why the professionals are saying, don't reprimand him for things done in the past. You have to do it in the moment so that he associates the behavior with the moment.
Yeah.
So... But I think even in general, there is this dichotomy a lot of times where, and this might be a bit of archaic thinking, where the dad is expected to be the punisher, or just one parent is often the punisher and one is the not so punisher.
Yeah. Wait until your father gets home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I guess how do you handle that?
What a wild familiar scenario.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you provided me this context before the show, and this is the first time I've heard it, because otherwise it would just because I've been musing about it all day. I've been sitting around thinking like, how do there's no answer, right? I don't think there's a silver bullet to any of this stuff. I think the only approach in a family unit to any of this is care and understanding, and an extreme amount of patience. Because I've talked about this publicly, and my wife knows I've talked about it publicly, but she had postpartum depression when our child was really, really young. Until she got some help, like it went to actual counseling, got actual help, actual diagnosis.
And I think that happens a lot more than people are willing to admit. I mean, mental health issues happen way more often than people care to admit in general, but postpartum can be especially tough, just because it's not just everything that you're dealing with up here. You are physically exhausted to put it on top of that, so it's very exacerbated. But
you're not yourself. You don't recognize anything that you're doing. It's a whole gamut of stuff. But anyway, like that, this reminded me a lot of times when I would come home from work and my son had 2 or 3. I don't know how old Tyler's kid is. I don't have an age, but either way, on the spectrum, there's probably some difficulties there that I'm not even familiar with, even in that context. But he would be, I'd walk in the door and I often didn't know if I'd walk into my wife and him playing on the floor or her collapsing into just being like, take him. I gotta go. And it was the most challenging time of my life, right? It was really difficult. But I think the best thing I knew to do is walk in and be the new parent, even if work was really hard.
Yep.
Hard work for me was hard work with adults that I could at least reason with. And I had to start choosing. This is a big word. You're choosing to look at your kid as the energy provider for you. Like, I'm now excited to be that's not always going to come naturally. Sometimes you're like, oh gosh, being a dad is the hardest thing. Why do I have to do this right now? I just had the worst day at work. But you got to pick a different emotion to run with.
Yeah.
And I did that by taking and be like, I'm going to put my stuff down. Let me get organized. And he and I are going to go down to the park. And luckily, we have a little park right down the street. And I let him play on the swing set and go down the slide and stuff and give her some room. And I think
And often
that's,
that's the best thing you can do
yeah.
is let them have some time to themselves to decompress. I think probably the worst thing you can do is, and I've seen people do it, and I've been guilty of it several times, is
Mhm.
matching the manic energy that your spouse is putting off.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I subconsciously do it a lot of times because I feel that solidarity with my
Mhm.
wife just naturally, and it's a very natural inclination to match that energy. But it I think the wiser course is to keep the calm and allow your spouse time to decompress.
Yeah, it's just raising kids is the hardest job on earth. It's the most rewarding, but is the most difficult, and it can um if you aren't on equal footing with your spouse, like in understanding of each other's emotion, where are you at? Where am I at? How are we going to get through this challenge? And you facing it as a team, it can get really sketchy. So like one of the things that I talked about this I think on the show once before, the spoon system. Like
Yeah, yeah.
if you're
How
walking and
many
your wife's
spoons you got?
crying, she's got 0. If you've got 2, just take your kid and go somewhere, for a little bit, because it's you love your kids, but we're also human and we need a break, and when school's out, yeah, it's a whole my kid's 10 and school's out, and I'm still like, "Oh, man, he's gonna be home, like, all day. What are we gonna
Yep.
do?" Becomes a whole
Well,
new challenge.
Well, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom who's homeschooling all three of our kids. So
Oh, yeah, you
she
got a whole
it,
different thing going on.
that she doesn't get breaks. So when
Right.
she asks for a break, I'm like, no, go back there,
Mhm.
lock yourself in the bedroom and take some time. I can handle this.
Yeah. I think one of the things in Tyler's note that concerned me the most, if I had something that concerned me, is this use of the word forced. My wife almost
Yeah.
forces me to be bad cop. I don't I don't think it's healthy for either of you to force either of you into any kind of position. But that's
Well,
where the work comes in.
and to add just a tiny bit more context, in case you didn't realize this, Tyler is also a stepfather,
Okay.
which adds a
That's a
whole nother
different.
dynamic to it.
Yeah.
So
But even still, your stepfather who knew there was a kid who volunteered to this, you've been given an amazing position.
yes,
Uh
but it
of
does add another
it adds
context to it.
yeah, yeah, I don't want to discount it. And probably I will listen back to everything we said and be like, why did I say that was stupid?
Well,
Uh
because I can only imagine as a stepfather, you're second guessing
oh yeah.
every interaction,
Hmm.
and so. Well, I mean, if you're a good stepfather, because if you're not second guessing yourself, um, then you're probably screwing up. As a
That's the
and
way
that
that
goes for
goes.
parents in general, to be honest,
Oh yeah.
because you're no one is a perfect parent. You're just doing the best you can.
Oh, 100%. You're the best you can with the tools you've got. I think the best thing you can do in any of the situations is be the best husband you can be.
Yep.
Um, that's really like the way I look at it, and the way me and my wife try to operate is we love our son, but the first relationship that ever was in this house was ours. And that
Yep.
matters massively. Like Sam can be unhappy with me and be angry and whatever, but like if Stephanie's mad at me, something I've got to fix that. Like something's wrong. Because it's the foundation. Sam can have a healthy, he can know he's safe at home because we get along and we put a lot of effort into making sure he knows we're happy and we're in a good place, and we're affectionate around him. Like I'm always telling him like, Sam, I love your mom. She's just the best. She's just the best person. So he never has to worry about being in a place that's not, that's not together. It's not safe for him. And I know not everybody has a relationship like that, and I understand that for sure. But it's something worth working towards. And so I think really at the root of this is if you're the best husband, you're looking out for your wife the best you can. It works both ways, but all you can control is your attitude. You can't control hers. Um, just give her time when she needs time, and you do that enough, and it'll start to help. You'll start to see the progress in in the situation of feeling forced to be bad cop. Don't come in guns blazing, pew pew pew. Let me get my belt out. It's time to punish children. Just go when he gets to you. It's a new day, and it's
Yep.
new situations. And then if he gets to where he's understanding more about past stuff, and I know you've got a different situation than normal, but I've talked to my son before. It's like, did you think about when this happened today? And just kind of
Yeah.
review it.
Discussion, review the day, talk about what you could have done better.
Yeah.
Maybe even try to build some empathy. Say,
Hmm.
you know, this was tough on your mom today. Do you know why it was tough on her? Do you
Hmm.
what happened? Um, can you and just get their side of it, I guess. And
Yeah.
if you can get them reflecting on it, it'll build empathy. And empathy, it, kids lack empathy.
Yeah.
They just do. And thinking back on when I was a kid, there were times where it wasn't it it wasn't that I wasn't being considerate. I just didn't know to be considerate because I lacked empathy. I wasn't mature in that way. And so there were times where I did very insensitive things that it didn't occur to me not to do it that way.
Hmm.
But as I've gotten older and I've reflected on it and thought about it, I'm like, oh, I was a little hellion at that time. And
Oh yeah.
and that's it's just with experience comes wisdom and empathy, and you can relate more, and you can more easily put yourself in other people's shoes to a
Yeah.
certain extent. And and yeah, you can still foster that understanding in your child by having those discussions.
Yeah, and learn to be open with your own emotions with your kid. They don't know how to they don't know how to handle emotions if you don't show them. I
Yep.
mean, I think it's important to talk about what you went through. Like, I was really disappointed today, or I got real angry today, and this is what I felt, or I'm kind of anxious about this or that.
Yep.
Because that's the only way they're going to learn how to handle their own is if you can name your own emotions.
Yeah.
So important. I learned about this technique. I'm sorry, Joe, real quick, but I learned about
No,
this
no.
technique because so many men are detached from their own emotional. They don't have any emotional EQ, whatever that is. Emotional IQ. I don't know what you call it. They don't
Yeah.
have it. And so there's actually therapists that have given men who struggle. They either are angry or they're fine. There's no other things going on. Cards that have different emotions written on them. Depressed, cornered, sad. And dudes have literally started to get angry and go, "What is this really?" And look through the cards and be like, "Oh, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed." Because it gives a name to the
What type of
emotion.
anger is this?
Right, yeah. You're right. It gives them if you can name something, you can control it. If you can't name it, it runs around all over the place and you don't know what to call it or what to do with it. But if you can name it, you can pinpoint, I am anxious. You can
Now,
help your brain put it in the back seat so you can drive.
when you said disappointed, I imagined the card being that meme clip from the Hercules TV show.
Hercules.
Disappointed.
Appointed. Yeah. But really,
Oh,
you teach your kids how to manage their emotions by managing your own and
yeah,
learning what they are. And I mean, I'm a 40-year-old man. I've had to figure this stuff out.
yeah. Well, and I I have this tick, I guess you could call it, where if people are hovering behind me, it makes me anxious.
Yeah.
Like I have identified it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Hmm.
And when when we're preparing dinner and stuff, my kids have a tendency to hover.
Yeah.
And so I'm focused on dinner. And I just got off work, focusing on getting dinner ready, focusing on trying to do to be honest, trying to do a lot of things at the same time, and
Mhm.
then add on to that, I've got a kid hovering, and I'm getting anxious, and so there have been many times where I've told my boys, I'm getting overstimulated. I need you to go somewhere else right now.
Yeah.
And I haven't always handled it that way. The many times I've handled it very poorly, but
Mhm.
when I'm in a calmer mindset, that's how I prefer to handle it, is tell them nicely to go away.
Yes, yes. It's so hard. Like driving around a human body all day is exhausting, and you run out of the ability to control sometimes. I mean, I've fussed at Sam over dumb stuff plenty of times. And I'm just like, but then I'm also sitting there sometimes when I am in control, I'm like you said, like if he's laying all on me when I'm trying to do something, like, I love you, but I need you to put some space between me and you right now. You know what I mean? I always lead with this is not your fault. I am having a thing I'm dealing with. I need you to give me a little bit of breathing room.
Yep.
And I think we've gone beyond Tyler's initial question, but like it's hard. I learned to forgive yourself, learn to forgive your wife, learn to forgive your kid, and none of that has anything to do with them. All of that has everything to do with you. That's an inside thing. What forgiveness does, it doesn't impact anybody else. It just impacts what you're carrying around with you.
Yep.
So I think that's the best answer I have. There's no silver bullet. Just give as much of yourself as you can. Give as much patience as you can. If you need to drive an extra block, one more loop around the block, listening to a radio, meditate, whatever it takes to get you into a good place before you open the door when you get home. I think that's what your assignment is, to try to get in a good place before you open the door so you can take your kid and go somewhere. Give your wife
Yep.
some breathing room.